I wrote the book called Cancer Patients because a few months before, Bob O'Connor, my husband, asked me to write a book about all we had been through because he wanted people to know what a difficult thing it was. Nobody would live those days. They were so difficult. He was sick so much of his time. He lost so much time at work. It's unbearable. But his main concern that I was so young, I was 53 years old, and he was going to have to leave me at such a young age. And I consoled him with, I can take care of myself, Bob. It certainly is not meant to be a sad book. I like to think that there were enough funny parts in it, not that there was anything funny about cancer. But I tried to lighten it here and there. When you're about to cry, I would often put in some marvelously funny thing that he had said over the years. He had a fabulous sense of humor. Certainly, when you love the person very, very much, it is not a hard job. It is a constant job. I never got really tired. I was always on a high almost. It was on my mind constantly because I was always figuring out what I can do better, what I could do more for him. And it was my job. I loved him, and I was going to do everything I could. I knew he was not going to live. We both knew from day one he would not live. But I was going to make him the best days of his life. My goal was to keep him as happy as I possibly could. And indeed, he laughed a lot. And he made me laugh a lot. For as serious as this is, we managed to enjoy each other. The hardest days, of course, were the saddest. But they never made me cry. But the hardest days were when he was terribly ill and we couldn't do anything about it. And when you watch him vomit every 15 minutes for 7 hours, it's tough. It's really tough. But then I realized that he was sedated enough that he didn't realize he was doing it. And then it was a snap. I could get through it fine. I knew that he didn't know what he was doing. And it was a beautiful awakening to me when I realized after that first day when I was frantic. When he woke up the next morning, he said to me, how sick was I? I had my back to him. I thought, I better hear this again before I answer it, because he was terribly sick. So I turned to him and I said, what did you say? And he said, how sick was I? I said, oh, not bad. And that's all he knew. And that's all I told him. And we were fine, because he didn't know and I wasn't telling. I didn't have to. The good Lord stepped in and made it real clear to me that we would make it, and we did. The medical staff supported us in every way they possibly could. It was a wonderful atmosphere. Everything we needed, they were right there for us. And certainly Dr. James R. Jett, the man whom I dedicated this book to, of Mayo Clinic, was outstanding. He had all the time in the world for us. He explained every move, everything that I wanted to know or Bob wanted to know. He'd break down everything. He had no hurry. I can never thank him enough for making what was really impossible possible. I never made a decision for him. It was his cancer, it was his pain and his suffering. And while he would ask me what I thought, I would say to him, run it by me, what you're thinking, and we'll talk about it. But usually by the time he ran it by me, he had already figured it out. And I never added to or took from. This ordeal has never challenged my faith in God. My faith in God was strong long before cancer. I knew my whole life was God. And I knew that he would take care of us. He finally told me what was wrong with him, and he said, you'll take care of him, and I'll help you. And he did. And we got along fine. And we had no reason to be anything but up for it every day. The one word that describes Bob is charisma. He loved people, and they loved him. Bob O'Connor was and is the love of my life. He's still with me. He always will be with me forever until we meet again in heaven.